I, Avery Mitchell, 29, never imagined I'd be typing this from the emergency room break room. But my life has taken a dark turn that I need to share. My older stepbrother, Marcus Henderson, 42, has been a living nightmare since my mom married his dad. Let me give you some background. Our parents married when I was 4, and he was 17. Both were widowed. My mom, Diana, lost my dad when I was just 1, and Marcus's dad lost his wife years before. After their wedding, we moved to the US since my mom had American citizenship through her previous marriage. I was actually born in the US, but after my dad died, Mom and I had moved back to Colombia. Marcus's dad got his residency through marriage, and Marcus tagged along since he was still a minor. Early memories. The first clear memory I have of Marcus still makes my hands shake when I think about it. He wasn't just not a fan of me. He was actively cruel. Since he was studying at the local community college and living with our parents, he often got stuck watching me. But watching meant locking me in the guest bathroom or the garden shed. I can still feel the cold metal handle of that shed door, still hear the click of the lock. Every time he had to drop me off at school, my lunchbox would mysteriously disappear. I'd watch him toss it in a dumpster behind the school, smirking as he walked away. But what really showed his true nature was how he treated my pets. My cat. She's been with me for almost 22 years now. Still limps from the times he deliberately tried to run her over. I can still hear her terrified yowls, see her diving under parked cars to escape his vehicle. When I told our parents, they'd just shake their heads. Marcus wouldn't do that, they'd say. You must be imagining things. He was their golden child, especially for my mom. Diana had always wanted a son instead of a daughter, and Marcus filled that role perfectly. The bullying just kept escalating, becoming more twisted and, I'm sorry, but there's no other word for it, perverted. He had this long metal key for the bathroom. The door had this safety feature, a small hole on the outside where you could insert a long implement to unlock it in emergencies. But Marcus turned that safety feature into another tool for torment. I feel sick even typing this, but I need to get it out. He would use that key to walk in on me showering. My underwear would vanish from my drawers. Sometimes I'd find them later in his room, but I learned to stop looking. Then he started taking pictures of me sleeping. One night. God, I still have nightmares about this. I woke up to find him pleasuring himself next to my bed while I slept. The incident. I screamed. Who wouldn't? My parents came running, but I was the one who got in trouble. You must have been tempting him, my mother said, her voice cold with disappointment. I was 14. He was 27. I spent that night crying in my locked bathroom, feeling more alone than I ever had before. Path to escape. The abuse escalated until I was 16, when Marcus did something so horrific, I'm still in therapy for it. That was my breaking point. With trembling hands and a racing heart, I called my biological half-brother, Ethan Wright, 48, my father's son from his first marriage. I remember barely being able to get the words out, asking if I could live with him and his wife, Lauren, for my last 2 years of high school. When Ethan learned what was happening, his reaction was everything I desperately needed all those years. He confronted my mother directly, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. Diana's response was chilling in its indifference. Take her if you want, just never ask me for money. The words still echo in my head sometimes, a reminder of how little I meant to her. New beginning. Ethan and Lauren became my legal guardians, my saviors, really. They didn't just take me in. They rescued my elderly cat and our family dog too. I couldn't bear leaving any living creature behind, with Marcus lurking around. The memory of packing my belongings, hands shaking as I rushed to get everything before he came home, still feels surreal. My parents never checked on me after that. Not once. But my father's side of the family, they were incredible. When they learned what happened, they rallied around me like a protective wall. Everyone, including Ethan's mother and her family, made sure I could finish school and go to college. I still get emotional thinking about how they helped me achieve my dreams. I now work as an ER nurse practitioner with both a bachelor's and master's degree and no student debt. Present day. I still live with Ethan, Lauren, and their 2 kids, paying a modest rent, even though they insist I don't need to. It's the least I can do for the people who've been my real family for the past 13 years. The housing market here is brutal, and Ethan keeps insisting I stay until I can save enough for my own place. Their home has become my sanctuary, filled with the warmth and safety I never had in my mother's house. Life was relatively peaceful until Diana's message appeared on my phone last week. She hadn't contacted me since I was 18, when she coldly informed me that she no longer had any responsibility for me. Seeing her name on my screen made my stomach lurch. The message was jarringly friendly, asking how I was, claiming she missed me. My hands were trembling as I typed a polite but brief response about my career. The demands begin. Her questions quickly turned to my salary after I mentioned being a nurse practitioner. I kept my response vague, only saying it was enough to cover my bills. That's when she started talking about Marcus. My heart rate spiked just seeing his name on my screen. According to Diana, Marcus was struggling financially due to massive student debt. He'd never completed any degree, bouncing between different careers like a pinball. Now he was working as a salesman at our stepfather's used car dealership, but most of his earnings were being consumed by the student loans he'd accumulated over years of failed attempts at education. I managed to type out a sympathetic response, wishing him luck while trying to keep my hands from shaking. That's when Diana's true motives emerged. Her next message made me drop my phone. She insisted I needed to pay off Marcus's student debt so he could finally make the money he deserves as the man of the family. Seeking safety. I switched off my phone and drove home early, something I never do. I'm usually the last one to leave the ER. When I walked in, Ethan's concerned expression told me he knew something was wrong. Lauren wasn't home yet. I showed Ethan the messages, my hands still trembling. I've never seen such fury in my brother's eyes. He immediately told me to block all of them, Diana, my stepfather, and especially Marcus, if I hadn't already. After a family discussion with Lauren, I called my supervisor at the to request the next 2 days off, giving me a 4-day weekend, including my regular days off. My boss was incredibly understanding, telling me to take care of myself and let her know if she could help. Looking back, I wish I'd just gone to work. Confrontation. The next day, my worst nightmare materialized at Ethan's doorstep. Diana and Marcus showed up while I was alone. Everyone else was either at work or school. My heart nearly stopped when I saw them through the security camera. I immediately called Ethan, my voice shaking as I told him what was happening. "Don't open the door. I'm on my way," he said firmly. I could hear him already getting into his car. Diana's voice grew increasingly hysterical as she screamed through the door about how I owed them for raising me, how her sweet boy deserved the money. Meanwhile, Marcus circled the house like a predator, checking every window and door for a way in. Thank God for security bars and automated locks, a precaution Ethan had insisted on when I moved in. The attack. Through the window, Marcus's face contorted with rage as he spotted me. The words he spat were vile, saying they should have abandoned me as a baby since I'd grown up to be such a burden. My whole body froze when he slammed his fist against the window so hard it cracked the glass. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot. Eventually, he stormed back to the front door, and I could hear him trying to kick it in. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone, but I didn't need to worry. The security door Ethan had installed held firm. Still, each impact made me jump, memories of past trauma flooding back. Between Diana's shrill demands, Marcus's threats, and their attempts at emotional manipulation, I finally heard Ethan's voice booming across the yard. Through the window, I watched him physically drag them both off the porch. They moved beyond my view, but whatever Ethan said to them must have been serious. When they came back into view, both Diana and Marcus looked pale as ghosts before practically running to their car and speeding away. Aftermath. When Ethan came inside, he immediately wrapped me in a protective hug, apologizing over and over. Lauren arrived moments later, looking ready to hunt them down herself. That's when I learned what had stopped them. Ethan had threatened to press charges about what Marcus did to me when I was 16. There was more evidence than they knew about. Surprisingly, my stepfather contacted us, offering to testify against his own son. Something had happened with Marcus and one of my stepfather's nieces. I'm not sure of the details, but it had caused a massive rift between them. While this seemed to deter Marcus, Diana was far from finished. Escalation. Over the next 3 days, my phone was flooded with calls and texts from various unknown numbers. Diana had apparently rallied people claiming to be my maternal family I'd never even known existed, to harass me for money. She kept insisting the money should legally be hers since she's my mother, claiming it was my late father's missed child support. I'm working with Ethan to find a lawyer for a restraining order, and we're seriously considering taking my stepfather up on his offer to testify. While I can't fully forgive him for not protecting me from his son, I appreciate that he's trying to make amends now. Professional impact. My supervisor at the has been incredibly supportive, letting me take extended leave. I'm burning through my vacation days, and my therapist is probably going to need her own therapist after all this. Thank God for my dark sense of humor and my supportive paternal family. They're keeping me somewhat sane through all this. New developments. What I didn't expect was Diana's next move. She's launched a social media smear campaign, twisting everything around. She's posting false accusations about me and Marcus, claiming I was the one who tried to seduce him for years. She's even recruited women claiming to be my aunts as witnesses, women I've never met in my life. My stepfather, surprisingly, publicly commented on her posts, calling out her lies and confirming Marcus's predatory behavior. That's how I learned more details about the incident with his niece, apparently around my age or younger. The whole situation has exposed more of Marcus's pattern of behavior than anyone expected. Family truth. My biological father's relatives have started speaking up online too, pointing out how Diana had always claimed to be an orphan with no family. Now suddenly, she has 3 sisters? The inconsistencies in her stories are finally coming to light. Current situation. I'm spending my time being a stay-at-home aunt to my nephews, trying to maintain some normalcy. They're actually loving it. We go on little adventures after they finish their homework. My boss has helped arrange a 6-week leave of absence, after which I'll be working remotely for a while. It's not ideal, but spending time with the kids helps keep me grounded. Something I should clarify. Diana's behavior isn't about any romantic involvement with Marcus, as some have suggested. She always wanted a son, and I was a disappointment simply for being born female. She treats Marcus like he's her biological son, with a devotion that borders on obsession. She made sure to tell me throughout my childhood how disappointing it was that I wasn't born a boy. Bar incident. Last night was particularly rough. After weeks of staying in, my friends and Ethan's family convinced me to go out for a girls' night. I chose to stay near the bar rather than dance. Being an introvert in the takes enough social energy as it is. I was actually enjoying myself, chatting with the bartender and watching my friends have fun. Then Diana walked in. The moment she spotted me, She launched herself at me, trying to hug me while crying dramatically about how much she'd missed me and how different I looked. I tried to pull away, but she created such a scene that other patrons started paying attention. She began begging for reconciliation, claiming I had misunderstood Marcus's affection, that they both loved me and wanted me to live with them. The worst part? Some people actually bought her act. I could see sympathetic looks directed at her, and a few strangers even encouraged me to hug my poor mother. The humiliation and anger made me feel physically sick. The breaking point. When I tried to leave, she followed me outside, now with a small audience of well-meaning but misguided strangers calling me a terrible daughter. Her words turned my stomach. She kept insisting that Marcus truly cares for me and wants us to be a family again. Then she said something that made me snap. She referred to his assault when I was 16 as making love, as if it had been consensual, as if I hadn't been a minor, and he nearly 30. I found myself crying and screaming at her to leave me alone. My professional composure completely shattered. Thank God one of my more clear-headed friends, called Ethan, who arrived quickly and scared Diana away. He took me home, and now I'm certain I won't be going out again anytime soon. Legal progress. For those wondering why I never called the police, I did. Multiple times. Starting when I was 11, reporting the abuse. At 16, I reported the assault. They took his side every time. I've lost my faith in law enforcement's ability or willingness to protect assault victims. Latest update. The only positive development is that Marcus was finally arrested, not for anything he did to me, but for attempting to kidnap his 2-year-old cousin's daughter. The baby was recovered safely, thank God. Who knows what he planned to do? It's horrifying to think about, but at least now people might finally believe what I've been saying all these years. I'm working with my lawyer to pursue every legal avenue available. The support from Ethan, Lauren, and my father's family has been my lifeline through all this. I'm focusing on healing and protecting myself, one day at a time.